Thank you. What a wonderful greeting. All divine as she is divine. All cycling, spiraling, changing. All she cycles, spirals, changes. She, ever renewing, everlasting life, ever regenerating. Mother, daughter, mother, daughter, mother, daughter. And she gave birth to daughters, divine as she is divine. See? See. Daughters in her own image, of her own essence. Daughters of her own flesh and blood. She gave birth to sons. Divine as she is divine. Sons in her own image. See? See. Of course, her sons are in her own image, of her own flesh and blood. If she is not the source and model of all life, does she not conceive by herself? Fertilize herself? Then she is as fully male as she is female. And out of her sacred birthing body, she brings forth all that is in her own image.
Goddess traditions are about sharing. So there's two of us up here today, rather than just one. I'm going to read a passage as well out of the book from Donna Wilshire called Virgin Mother Crone. I charge you to remember. Our foremothers were no one's property, no one's servant, wife, or concubine. Our foremothers belonged to themselves. Our foremothers gave birth to their own children out of their own wombs and gave their children their own names. Their mother's names, their granddam's names, their great-granddam's names. Our foremothers walked confidently alone in the streets. So respected and revered were they. Our foremothers ran, free and full of laughter. Our foremothers bathed bare-bellied, unashamed, under the sky, in renewing waters, in the womb waters of our loving mother Hera, the earth. So remember these things, women and men, or failing that, dream them. Let Hebe's voice rise in your ears afresh. Listen afresh for a new message for these new times. The goddess of invention lives in you. The creatrix never stops creating. Call her forth in yourself. Go to the temples and proclaim loudly, I am Hebe, the creating one. I bring forth my own necessity. I am Telia. I savor life fully. I nurture myself and others. I am Hecate. I have the wisdom of the ages in me. I am my own miraculous mother. I am many in one. I am Virgin Mother Crone. All praises be unto Hera, women. Hera, blessed Trinity. Hera, the goddess of women. Isis, Astarte, Hecate, Demeter, Kali, Inanna, Artemis, Athena. All the goddess archetypes that our modern day culture has tended to forget. I'm going to talk a little bit about an aspect of the goddess, the women that we are, that we tend to forget. How many of you ladies out there have given birth to a human child? I say human child because we birth things all the time. Okay, so we have a couple mothers out there. How many of you, all of you, have served in the military? Okay, a few of you as well. There's an aspect of the goddess that we tend to forget. And on Mother's Day, it's about being loving, it's about being nurturing, it's about being the lover, and we're going to cover all of those aspects, but I want to speak to you about the protector, about the warrior woman, about the part that we forget because our culture doesn't really allow us to be that. Every birth that happens is an absolute battle for life. Everything is cyclical. This university or this universe is of duality, is it not? We agree with that? There is light and there is dark. There is mother and there is father. So we cannot have peace. We cannot have birth. We cannot have creation without having war, without having some kind of a tiny death that goes with that. And that's what birthing is about. But that warrior aspect that comes out when we're fighting for the life of ourselves and what we're birthing, we forget that unless we are actually in the process of birth. We tend to scoff at women who own their anger. We tend to scoff at women who are empowered, who are independent, who don't need the constructs of this society's feminism in order to function. We call those women things that start with a B. We call those women feminists. We call those women angry. Yet all of those things serve us to push forward. And so as a protector, as a warrior woman, we are the mama bears. And why is there even such a term as mama bear? Because the mama bear, there is nothing like the mama bear when there's a threat on the family unit. It's not daddy bear. It's the mama bear. Yes, dads, you guys are the providers. You bring in the food. You keep the roof over our heads in traditional households. But it's mama bear that is ultimately the protector. Warrior women are misunderstood. And even in this culture, it has been only very recently that we allow women to fully act in our militaries, to have full roles in active war. And let me tell you something. If we look at the archetypes that are out there, when we look at someone like Ares, who is bloodthirsty and out there on the battlefield, having a good old time because blood is being spilled, we have the other aspect, which is Athena, who's grieving over every drop of blood on both sides. And she strategizes in battle. She's there at war, but she strategizes for the least amount of destruction for the greatest good. And so that's part of what we carry as the battle women, the warrior women that are out there. And so I would task you throughout the next moon or so, we work as in moon cycles in our little society, to actually be very cognizant when you run into that And look at how it is that women that are comfortable with their warrior inside of them interact, and how it's brought out, and how do other people react to it. Because the only way that we're going to change that is so that the protector is also recognized. It's not just about being pink and soft and fluffy and mommy, is when we acknowledge it. Things are not linear. Things are actually cyclical. And so if we look at the creator and destroyer on a linear timeline, and we bring that full circle, what's together? The creator is right next to the destroyer. And so the warrior woman, the protector, yes, they can be a destroyer. But the other aspect is to be the creator.
It was no mistake that Aphrodite, the goddess of love, had a consort, which was the god of war. Love and war historically have been tied in so many ways. She brings forth all that is in her own image, and her sexuality and ours is a divine, holy energy. Her sexuality, the one truly creative force in the universe. In the beginning, the Great Mother discovered her rhythms, her energies, her power, and she danced in exaltation. She passed on the dance of exaltation to us, her children, and it became our dance. A sacred dance of beginning and creating, our holy sacrament for remembering her joy, for celebrating her oneness. Om, Om, Om. For she is the life force of the universe, spiraling and everlasting, and in her own image she brings forth. Sacred sexuality. What a concept, really. Why don't we have that concept? What happened? Why don't we like to see our mothers as sexual beings? Oh, no, that happened. Well, did it happen? It must not have happened, but if it happened, it was in closed door, right? We didn't see it. It didn't occur. Shh, don't talk about it. It's nasty. What? Really? It's nasty? This creative life force energy that brought us all into being is bad? What? Where did we get that? Why did that happen? Because our mothers are lovers. The Great Mother is lover. That's one of her aspects. Who is Aphrodite? She's the goddess of love. And she comes in so many different forms. It's going to depend on her friends that she comes along with for the ride, right? Historically, the early Christians didn't have this separation, really. It only happened in Romanization as the androcentric, the male-centered, male-dominated Roman culture tried to make sense of this new religion coming in. Now, mind you, in the Greek pantheon too, we have this separation, but it's not as pervasive and culture destroying, really, as it was when it came into the Roman arena. By that time, we had Roman culture already extending up into Britain and all throughout the Celtic regions. And they were rewriting stories as they went along to make sense of things. And they had to make sense of this male-dominated society where women were put down. And they couldn't own land, they couldn't do many, many, many things in their society is because they had this strange split in their heads that things that were of earth, that dank, dark, gritty earth, it couldn't be divine because only that expansion, that transcendent God, male, mind you, right? That was the thing to strive for. Separate yourself from this natural world because this natural world is so full of all of these things of the body, carnal, blood, guts, that's not good, they thought. But that's not true. Where did we all come from? We all come from the mother who was a lover in some way or another. And we all have that aspect inside of us, whether we be born into a male body, female body, or an androcentric blended body. We all have that within us. That lover, that mother lover. What happens when we actually embody that, embrace that? We have to become the best lovers of ourselves first and foremost, do we not? How can we know what to ask of somebody else to give us pleasure if we do not know what causes ourselves pleasure? How can we encourage and help our lovers to be better lovers for us if we don't know how to love ourselves first? Mother Earth. Mother Earth. Where are we in our relationship with our Mother Earth? Where are we in relationship with our mothers? If we have this strange split that says that only things cranial, only things that are outside of oneself are beautiful, which we know is not true, really. We've been given this lie over and over and over again. Why can't women who are sexually free and know what they want, why do we have to call them all these bad words, make it into a bad thing? We don't have to. We can change up that. You all know this is part of your philosophy. You change those things by the words that you use, right? And one of those things is talking about deity in different ways. Let's talk about the way that we have a relationship with our quote-unquote Mother Earth. With this kind of stereotypical thinking about mothers and mothering, what does that mean? We have the smothering mother. We've got the mother that abandons. We've got all of these things, right? How many times do we think about those negatives without thinking and invoking the positive with her? I want to see self-actualized people who are unto themselves sovereign, like the goddess is, who give birth to themselves constantly as they're moved and motivated to give birth, that are connected through their heart, that lover aspect. Why is lover a charged word? Why don't we talk about our lovers? Does it only have to come with cheating and bad things? Can't we be honest and communicate fully and express ourselves with one another in ways that are loving so that we are all lovers of one another? Let's talk about how we treat our mothers. Are they ever giving so that we can ever take to our own ends? Is that not Mother Earth? And what happens when we have that kind of relationship with our mothers? Don't they get a little hostile? That's been my experience anyway.
Warrior woman.
Thank you. And she has to protect herself, and so should she. So if the earth starts cutting us off, starts creating these natural disasters and such, why wouldn't we expect it the way that our relationship has been with our Mother Earth? But what happens when we elevate that relationship? No longer is she just our mother. That's not enough. What happens when she becomes our lover? Our Lover Earth. Well, lover denotes a reciprocity is necessary, does it not? If you are in a relationship where only one of you is giving, at some point you're going to have given enough. And you should cut it off at some point because you're not going to be replenishing your own juicy energy, right, that feeds you so that you can feed others. Why would it be different with our Mother Earth, our lover Earth? So I'm going to be published this next month in a book, compilation book called Ecosexuality. Ecosexuality. What happens when ecology and sexuality meet? You get ecosexuality. The book is called When Nature Inspires the Arts of Love, and I have some flyers out on the table out there if you want to pick some up on the way out. And the article that I wrote with Reverend Terry Chalky and Christine Dietrich talks about this very subject, talks about what happens when we move from a paradigm of honoring our earth as mother to being free to also love her as lover, and how many people have different expressions of that, how that changes our paradigm. Goddess Breasts by Donna Wilshire. The mother goddess's breasts are the most sacred numinous symbols of her nurturing, life-sustaining powers and abilities. By regarding the Great Mother's breasts as sacred symbols, her people held up the natural motherly activities connected with them for all men and women to see so that they could all be reminded and mimic the nurturing behavior and patterns and ideals that breasts represent. Men, even little boys and girls, can use this model, for they too can happily and successfully parent or mother, can love and comfort, sustain and nourish themselves and others. There's an old African saying, it takes a village to raise a child, including all the men and children. All of us have that nurturing inside of us. We all have aspects of the feminine God essence inside of us, no matter what body you were born into. And she comes in many different aspects. Protector and nurturer, protector and lover, mother. Also, the one that says, this is the law. This is the way it should be. So inside of each one of us, we have that. And we can tap into that. We can look inside and say, what are you nurturing today? What are you nurturing inside of your own self? Is there something you need to be fierce and protective of so that that nurture, that love, that whatever it might be can come out more fully manifest, more fully standing unto itself?
Let's do a quick little exercise and wrap it up. So we've really talked about several aspects of the goddess, and not to forget the God side of things, because there's multiple aspects as well. And so we'd like to take a moment and say thank you to the men in our lives as well. So take a moment and close your eyes. And now we're going to make noise. As you check in with yourself, I want you to think about what it is that would come welling up from your core if you had to instill the protector. If you have to let out a trill, if you have to let out a little warrior cry, now's the time to do it. If you have to let out a moan because you've connected with the lover goddess, now is the time to do it. Where are you? that silent audience. Are you ready?
That's birthing, right? It's not just everything's in place. It's organic. It's messy. Why would we expect our lives to be any different, really? Really. So I would charge you to embrace that. Embrace the messy. Embrace those places that may not be exactly the way you think they should be. Because that's where the most fertile ground really is.
Absolutely.
Blessed be. Thank you for having us. And so it is.